those of you who have blocks today, they're really handy for supporting us in poses where we might not have the ability to go so deep. So it becomes a little more, it's not quite restorative, but it's more towards the restorative side of the pose so that we can feel it without feeling like we're shaking and need to come out and dying. So we don't want anybody to die in yoga. So a little bit of blocks is good. All right, so find your seat and settle in and take one hand and place it on your heart and take the other hand and place it on the top of that hand. So now you have two hands stacked over your heart. And let's take this first few moments of arrival to let the heart come in line with the rest of the body. So I just know that when I first sit, I often have my heart kind of in front of me about 3 inches, leading the way. And I like that about myself, that I try to be open-hearted, and yet when that open-heartedness is not aligned or not brought into the body, it lacks balance. It lacks the sense of deep connection to my own truth and to my own ground. So you just let that soften back. And then you breathe into that area, so you keep that heart open. Back, front, left, right. And just take the next few breaths. Remember, we want those breaths to be long and smooth and steady. Inhaling deeply. Exhaling completely. And you want to let your mind's eye just drip down into the heart space. And because sometimes we can come to yoga class with a little bit of trepidation or a little bit of concern, like, oh, what is it that's going to challenge me today? What won't I be able to do? I want you to try to let that go. And imagine that you're walking into the room of someone who you feel completely supported by. It could be a life partner, it could be a grandma, it could be a horse, something that or a puppy or a kitty. It could be anything that you feel unequivocally, I can't even say that word, you know the word, where you feel completely supported, and they are looking at you with love and acceptance in their eyes. And you are feeling your response to that. And you're just letting yourself arrive in that feeling of safety and acceptance. And usually I start to feel a lot of gratitude around that. And it just allows my breath to deepen and to me to move from whatever I was doing before, maybe busy, maybe rushing to get to class, maybe a little bit in fight or flight for one reason or the other. And it allows the parasympathetic nervous system to jump in there as well, so that you have a little more balance. And then from here, just extend your arms straight out to the side like a stop sign. And just take a moment to look at your body in that place. We talked about this last week a little bit. So it's your upper scapula, and it's the space in between, so where the bone is. And if you just picture that part of the bone of the neck, that's moving up in towards the cervical spine, you just soften those bones forward, like release your grip from those bones. And then extend gently the back of the head, the back of the skull up. And let's just try that again. Just let your mind's eye move towards that upper thoracic, lower cervical spine. See if you can release any grip on that part of the neck and let it move forward. The chin gently drops in and the back of the skull lifts up. And now with that, turn and look to the left, turn and look to the right. And see if just that action of softening in that space of the neck gives you a little more freedom. And this is a great thing to do anyways. It's called flossing. And I know you floss your teeth every day, or I hope you do, but do you floss your neck? This allows the nerves to glide into their sheath a little more freely. The nerves do not like to be stretched. So if you feel a deep pull, then you bring the hands slightly forward and down and keep going until you start to feel fatigue in the arms. Imagine that the underside of the arms are doing the lifting. And if at any time those bones start to push back, we gently invite them forward and give them freedom. A couple more breaths, you can do it. And then turn your palms face up and sweep your arms up overhead. We'll be here for a few more breaths. So I want you to find that bony area, upper thoracic, lower cervical, and just soften those bones forward. And just notice as you soften them forward, do you also notice that your core moves forward too? If it does, you have to find that balance of drawing the core in and up and softening the neck bones. And then we just breathe and grow through the crown. And we're just looking here to find evenness in the weight of the hips, evenness in the breath, the inhale and the exhale, evenness in the side bodies, the length of the side bodies. One more breath. Shrug your shoulders just a little bit more just to get that last bit of length. And then press the air away and take the arms behind you slightly. So big, wide stretch as the arms come on down. Bring them to your thighs and roll the shoulders, cleansing breath. From here, bring your hands up into prayer and take a few moments to make an offering of somewhere in your life that's really uncomfortable right now. And just make that your offering to your practice. May you find a little more alignment in that area of your life. And then we offer that with a bow. Inhale to come back up. We'll breathe and we'll seal it with a beautiful Om. Here we go. Inhaling. Release your hands and open your eyes. You're just going to take your legs out in front of you. You can wiggle them for a little bit. I like to just shake them in and out. And then we're going to squeeze our toes like you're trying to bring the tips of your toes down into your foot. And you're almost trying to make like a C shape with that foot. And you're just squeezing those toes. And then inhale, spread the toes. And you can look at them, peek at them, see where you can bring that spreading into the foot, just opening the space of the bones. Make sure the knees soften and the back of the neck moves forward. Good. Squeeze one more time. So sometimes when we start to do other things with our bodies, then we go back into habits, back into what's familiar. So you do something simple like squeezing those toes, and then you come back and you go, oh, now what am I doing with my neck and my shoulders? What am I doing with my jaw? How am I breathing? Beautiful. Release that out and stretch them wide. Like you can add your hands too. Why not? Like you're just trying to open up all the spaces inside the bones of the feet. And just breathe, and then take your mind's eye and go, oh, what am I doing with my neck? What am I doing with my breath? What am I doing with my shoulders? What am I doing with my core? Beautiful. And release that out. Bring yourself into the opposite crossing. Bring your right hand to your left knee. And just gently, like I just finger walk, and gently pull that knee up a little bit So like a seesaw, as that knee rises, the thigh bone can drop. And that drop thigh bone is just really good for your back. Pull in the belly and lengthen up. And just breathe. You don't have to go into your ultimate twist. You're just working to lengthen the spine, to soften the back of the neck, to bring in the abdominals and to feel the root and the grounding of the thigh, the extension of the crown. One more breath. And then if you soften the neck forward, like the back of the neck forward, see if you can start to just turn and look over your shoulder. Imagine that you want to see what is behind you. You want to eavesdrop a little bit. Good. And then inhale and gently come out of the pose. And we'll take our left hand now onto our right knee, and we'll just finger walk it and lift it up a little bit so you feel that seesaw action. And as you do that, you also lengthen. And you start to move into that twist. And once you get into the first iteration of that twist, you take a moment to notice, what am I doing with my neck? Am I moving those bones, or am I releasing? I like to call it releasing. Am I releasing those bones forward into the body? Am I activating the belly and lifting it up? Am I finding length through the crown? Am I grimacing? Are my eyes bugging forward? What am I doing? And then if you've softened or released that neck forward, just turn and look over your left or your right shoulder. I hope I said that on the other side. I hope I said that properly. And imagine that you're trying to just peek behind you. You want to see what someone's doing behind you. One more breath. Noticing if you soften those neck bones forward, that it gives you a little bit more range. And then gently release. And come off of your block and come onto your backs. So lying down on the floor, you can take a moment just to stretch yourself out, just to reach your arms overhead. I like to grab my thumbs and pull and stretch. Just feel the left side of your body stretching and the right side shrinking or contracting. And then the right side stretching and the left side contracting. And then release that on down and walk your feet up one at a time till you're standing on them. And just take a cleansing breath here. Feel all four corners of your body on the mat. This is super handy to feel this squareness, to feel this even rectangle of your torso. Because you want to keep this rectangle, have some evenness to it. Inhale here. As you exhale, bring your left knee into your chest and just hug it. Breathe. Soften the bones of the back of the neck and notice how that shifts and subtly changes other body parts. So just using that as a cue, to me, is amazing how much it starts to shift the rest of my practice. So we're going to stay that simply today if we can. Okay, now you're going to take that foot into half happy baby. So the foot is flexed towards the sky, the knee drops down towards your outer rib, and you breathe. And then just notice for a moment in this position how it's a little easier to bring the knee closer to the rib than if you were to straighten the right leg. So go ahead and straighten the right leg and notice how the left knee just kind of naturally comes up again. So bend the right leg and bring that knee down just another centimeter. Keep that. Draw on your abdominals and stretch out your right leg. And you'll just notice you have a little more stretch there. Stay with that for another breath. And then we'll explore that a couple more times. So you're going to bend your right leg and notice if you get another centimeter, a little bit more stretch. Breathe into that, activate your abdominals, and then stretch the right leg and see where you're getting to. And you just keep breathing here. We're opening up the internal places of the hips. We got one more. So bend your right knee. Take a moment to feel that left knee drop down. Breathe deeply, engage abdominals. And then exhale, take that right leg straight again. And notice where you've gotten to. Beautiful. From here, you're going to bend your right knee and bring your right ankle over your bring your left ankle. This might be one of those days, I can tell already. Bring the left ankle over the right knee and just very gently start to push on the left knee with your left hand. And notice what happens to your hips. So you might notice your right hip kind of lifting up into the sky and towards your right shoulder when you press. So go ahead and release that and find that squareness of your 4 points, your left shoulder, your left hip, and your right hip. And then take your hands through and around the right thigh for Sukhi Randrasana, or Eye of the Needle pose, figure 4. You'll hear it called a few different things. And notice if you've lifted that right hip again, or if you've dropped it down so you're fairly square. And then soften the back of the neck. And see if that changes the pose a little bit, and stay with it and breathe. And just get really clear. So one of the other things I love to do in my poses is feel what the ground would do for me. So my right foot is imagining that it's on the ground. And I'm going to bring that grounding-like energy up the body and see how that shifts and changes the pose. A couple more breaths. I'm really working on feeling the grounding of the poses, the connecting, the softening, the support that's underneath me, the letting go. Taking my time in these poses. Beautiful. We're going to release out of that, dropping my right foot to the floor. Take that left knee and sandwich it all the way over the right leg. And then you're going to lift the hips and take them to the left and put them back down again. And then you let your legs drape over to the right. Don't go too far though. Just go part way, maybe 3/4 of the way. And then I want you to feel how that left leg, that's the top leg, kind of squeezes internally and makes you get longer or more articulation around the base of the spine. If you take your left arm up overhead, so it's on the ground but overhead, and then you squeeze the inner thighs, you'll get some lengthening happening in your spine. Now soften the back of the neck and see if you can let that stay soft. Couple more breaths. And what I really want you to feel here is the inner thighs waking up, because they're going to be really handy in our practice. They're always handy in our practice. The squeezing, the waking up of those inner thighs bring us into a really nice core alignment and core activation. So you might start to feel a little achy right about now. See if you can give a little more squeeze. So it's like you're narrowing around the waistline as those inner thighs squeeze together. Last breath. And then exhale, release. Bringing belly to the spine, we bring the hips back to the floor. And you just even them out as you unravel that left leg from the right. Place both feet equidistant and just make yourself centered. And just notice for a moment how that's shifted or changed those 4 corners of the back body. Take a big deep breath here. And we'll try that whole sequence second side. So you're going to bring your right knee into the chest and hug it. And just take a few moments here to feel how when you hug that knee, if you start to take yourself off center, you start to rock more weight onto your outer right hip or the back of your right hip. So use your abdominals and bring yourself a little bit more towards center. And just take a couple breaths here to feel where the resistance is, what's uncomfortable, And the tools that I use when I find that uncomfortability is to bring my mind deeper inwardly and see where I'm sacrificing my alignment or my strength or my connection to earth. And I just breathe. And what's my core doing? A couple more breaths here. Good. We're going to move into half happy baby. So you'll take that foot towards the sky. Either reach on it. You can also put a strap around it and just bring that right knee in towards your outer right rib. Good, and you're just breathing there. Now, notice where that knee is in relationship to the rib armpit, and stretch your left leg out long. And just notice how that made it a little harder to keep that deep stretch. So bend your left knee and let the right knee drop down 1 centimeter. And then use your own abdominals, use your ground, use your core, and stretch that left leg out again. So you just feel a little bit more stretch there. And then you just go back and forth, but really take your time so you can bend that left knee and let that right knee fall down towards the outer rib. Find your core, find your ground, and stretch that left leg again. And you're just continuing to breathe, nice deep breaths. We got one more. Bending that left knee, letting the right knee come down. And then stretching it out again, feeling that deeper stretch. From here, bend the left knee, bring your right ankle over the right knee, and just take, left knee, and just take a moment to feel the 4 corners of your back, left shoulder, left hip, and right hip. Then press on your right knee with your right hand, and notice how that lifts the left hip towards your armpit and up. So that's not really something you want too much. It's not horrible for you, but you're not getting much of a benefit. So drop that left hip down again, square yourself off, and then press the right knee without losing that core action. One more breath there. And then as you exhale, reach through and around the left thigh, and then recenter yourself. So worry less about how far you can get, how deep your stretch can be, how yogic-like you can feel. Let all that go, and just come back to your support system, to your ground. You can feel how the left foot could be on an imaginary ground, and you could bring that energy up into the body. The abdominals are awake and active, and you're breathing. And you just take this as an opportunity to get to know the shapings of your body, the places where you're tight, the places where you're weak. And it becomes an opportunity then to notice and make the shifts. Notice what's happening with the back of your neck, upper thoracic, lower cervical. Soften that. Soften your jaw and your eyeballs. And then gently release that leg to the floor. Take your right leg over top, so like a little leg sandwich, and then lift the hips and scoot them off to the right. Drop them back down, and then take your knees off to the left. Hands can be out in T, but I want you just to notice here the squeeze. So I want the emphasis to be on the inner thighs squeezing together to feel that deep support around the base of the spine. And then if you want, you can take your right hand on the floor overhead and just keep squeezing those inner thighs, and imagine that you could extend the spine from that action. And just breathing, noticing, awakening. Notice where the body wants to cramp or grip. Notice where maybe you can let go a little bit and where you can bring a little more action. So this inner thigh squeezing action is really important for so many poses. And it really, if you can feel this here, it really gives support and extension to the low spine, which is really what we want. A couple more breaths here. Can you soften the back of your neck? Can you soften your jaw and face? Last breath. Inhale. As you exhale, use your abdominals to bring you back. Bring your feet back to the floor. Even yourself out and take a cleansing breath. Now you're going to take your left leg long onto the floor. You're going to lift your right knee into the chest, and you're just going to start to do circles with that knee, like you had a marker on your knee and you were drawing circles. And I want you to notice as you draw circles where you're doing, if you're doing big rocks on your hips, like rocking left and right, or are you staying pretty centered? And so you want to do the circles small enough that you can avoid too much rocking left and right. We're just working to find stability here and mobility. So sometimes we sacrifice stability for increasing mobility, but I'm going to ask you to find the balance here today. Last circle. Beautiful. And release that down to the floor and just shake it out. Take a breath. Ground your right leg. Lift your left knee. Keep your right leg grounded and start to do circles like you're drawing with a marker on your knee. And again, you're not sacrificing stability for mobility. You're trying to find a balance here. So if you slow down, you'll find where you like to let go, and you're going to just work not to do that. So that you can imagine that your right leg is your standing leg, and you can just move around like some amazing ballerina and move that knee around without losing your balance. And you've got to use your abdominals. Notice where it's hard, where it's easy. And then release that leg all the way to the floor and shake it out. Okay, we've got one more thing on our backs, and it's bracing. We haven't done this for a few weeks, so aren't you glad you showed up today? Because we get to do 1 minute bracing. So we're going to bend our knees and stand on our feet. I'm setting the timer for 1 minute. We'll bring our knees up into the chest. The legs are at a right angle. The heels of the hands are at the tops of the thighs there, right at the knees. And I'm going to push my hands into my knees. My knees are going to isometrically push back, and then I'm going to pull my low belly in and up. And I'm going to try to get that whole front body to drop onto earth. And I want to push so much that I start to get a little shaky. I'm pushing, we push back, the belly draws in and up. And we're breathing still. This is one of the most powerful practices for core. And it's pretty safe. So you don't have to usually worry about hurting yourself, which you can in a lot of core work. Couple more breaths. We're getting there. You can do it. Push, push, and pull down. Traction with those fingers up into the sky. And release. Feet to the floor. Boy, that felt like a long minute. Take your feet as wide as the sticky mat and just windshield wiper your knees to the left and to the right. And again, keep your abdominals engaged a little bit so you get that sort of more pure movement in the hips from a stable core. Okay, here we go. We've got bracing again. So Here we go for 1 minute, bringing your knees up at a right angle, hands on the tops of the knees, pushing, pushing, tractioning and pulling. And breathing. If you do no other core work in your life, here's the one I recommend. And it's super helpful in lots of yoga practices. We learn bracing in this position. We can learn to brace in other positions. We're pushing on the knees are pushing back, tractioning fingers to the sky, pulling the belly, the ribs, the sternum down into the body. Keep going, keep breathing. You can do this. A minute isn't that long in our lives. See if you can find the steadiness in this pose and feel when it gets uncomfortable. You have to really draw on deep reserves. Beautiful, and release. Keep your knees up. One hand on each knee, we just go circle. So it becomes like a cat-cow. All right, go the other way. All right, place your feet on the floor, reach down and tickle your heels, and then make a cow shape. So that means you're gonna arch the back and lift it off the floor. The hips don't lift, the feet don't lift, the arms don't lift. You're just working to find the muscles that bring the spine into the body. And see if you can go from the lowest part of the spine through the middle, through the upper, even in and behind the neck. Last breath. Beautiful. Release that. Bring your hands to the sides of your head so my fingertips are pointing straight down, and I'm just gently holding my head up. I'm going to inhale and move towards up and to the right. And then I'm going to come up straight up to center and then over to the left and back down again. And I'm going to do circles like that. So I'm just lifting up and I'm trying to get the back of my shoulder blades off the floor. It's like a little bit of a circle. You can hear how hard it is for me to describe. And you're really working the abdominals. One more round. And back and release and take a cleansing breath. And the reason we don't interlace our hands behind the head on that, because you'll jam your chin into the chest and it'll be all around your neck, about your neck. And I want it to be around your upper abdominal. So here we go to second side. So you bring the heels of the hands to the side of the head, fingertips pointing straight down. We swing over to the left as we lift up, and then to the center, and then to the right. And then we come around and do that again. It's like trying to make upper body circles. And you exhale as you try to get those shoulder blades off the mat. Last one. Use your breath. Come on down. Release your head to the floor. And then just say no with your head. Like look to the right and look to the left. Beautiful. You're going to roll to your right side. Look on down at the floor and come on up onto hands and knees. We're going to take our wrists backwards as we've been doing lately, just to stretch out the backs of the hands. And I want you to feel the thumb, the pointer finger, the middle finger, the ring finger, and the pinky finger. And I want you to squeeze some juice out of your mat. Really squeeze. Wake up those hands. Get them really strong so they'll support the wrists, the elbows, and the shoulders. See if you can melt that upper part, or that upper part of thoracic, lower part of cervical. See if you can melt it down, but then bring in your abdominals. It's a fun challenge. Good. Toes are tucked under. Slowly, slowly, slowly peel your hands off the mat and sit on back on your tucked toes, and inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. Interlace your fingers, take palms to the sky. Take a minute to notice, where is your heart sit in this practice? Bring it into the body. Let it feel the ground underneath you. And release. Big round arms behind you. Beautiful. Come to tabletop again. Beautiful. You're going to bring your left knee forward and your right leg back. Make the back leg strong. So we do our little pumps like we've been doing the last couple weeks. You just push with your toes, so you move about an inch forward until you feel that leg, you can keep walking it forward till you feel it's really condensed in the body and strong. And then you draw all the muscles around that leg and lift it up off the floor. Beautiful. Now, here's a little shift and change. You might need to walk your hands forward here. You're going to swing that leg to the right so it comes straight out from that hip. Okay? Now, keep that. Pull from that foot like that foot is on a wall and it's pushing into your body, and lift your left hand off the floor. Melt the back of the neck and feel the abdominals reaching. Beautiful. Now just drop that foot straight to the floor. Open up your left arm to the sky. Beautiful. And release it on down. Come on back. Sit on back onto your feet. Rest your hands in your lap and take a cleansing breath. That was a new one, so we're going to go through it a couple times so that if you needed to watch, because it's a little complicated, we'll do that whole series twice through so you can see it. So we start hands and knees. You're going to bring your right knee slightly forward and your left leg back. And then you just start to pump. You just start to use that back leg to push you forward a little bit. And each time I try to step it a little farther forward, it's like I'm trying to condense that leg. When I feel like it is, I draw all the muscles around those bones and lift it up. From here, I might have to walk my hands a little forward, but I swing that leg out to the side. Keep that, draw it in like a wall or somebody is pushing on that foot and pushing it into your body. And then open up your right arm. Woo! You got to use your core. Can you melt the back of the neck? Drop that foot straight to the floor and open the right arm to the sky. And just breathe. And release. Sit on back, hands in your lap. I hope you got it, because here we go. Second time. Talk you through it. Hands and knees. Left leg forward, left knee forward, right leg back, straight leg. It looks like a little bit like we're prepping for bird dog. And you just push forward, you just rock it. Now each time I rock, I step forward a little bit till I really condense the energy. And then I can stop rocking and just bring it in and sweep it up and just right behind you like bird dog. And then take it out to the right. Sometimes here I'll come onto right fingertips. Here if I'm really tight. And then press down with the right finger and lift the left arm up. One more breath. Use your abdominals, soften the back of the neck. Drop that right foot straight to the floor and inhale the left arm up in a twist. Beautiful. Release that. Sit on back. Take a cleansing breath. A little twist, little core work, little thigh activation on the outside. Here we go, second side. Right knee forward, left leg back. Start to rock and push. You can step it forward till you feel really condensed there. Then bring the energy in around that leg, lift it up. You can come onto your left fingertips if that makes it easy. Swing it out to the side. Looks like fire hydrant pose if you ever were into aerobics. Pull with that foot into the thigh socket. So it's like you're push. You're just drawing it in. And then open up your right arm. Good little core and strength work here. Good. Drop right hand, left leg to the floor. And then inhale and open your right arm into a twist. One more breath. And release. We're going to bring our legs together. It's going to look like child's pose, except for the knees are close. Bring a block in.
You can rest your forehead on a block here and extend your arms straight out in front of you like downward facing dog. With the legs together, it just gives us that little more imprint around the lower spine so we can feel those muscles, those little teeny muscles that support us deeply inside our body. One more breath, squeezing like we're trying to lengthen our spine even here. And then melt that place behind the upper scapula and the lower neck. Just melt that place down. Keep it soft, bring in the abdominals. And then using the sides of your throat, lift your head up off the floor or off the block. Just a little neck building, a little strength building. One more breath. And release it on and down. Beautiful. You can move your block. We're going to move right into rabbit. So we'll tuck the toes under. Forehead to the floor. Reach back around those feet. Push into the feet. Curl and round the spine. Lift the abdominals way inside. Even up into your ribs. Even up into your sternum. Accelerate those feet and see if you can get a stretch behind your scapula. Can you melt the back of the neck in this pose? Seems kind of odd, but try. And release. It sends all the effort into the abdominals where it belongs instead of the neck. Okay, we'll do our stretch for the upper back. So feet in front of us, knees bent. We're going to reach over with our left hand to the outer right foot so that I'm grabbing the outside of the right foot. My right hand is a kickstand. I'm going to shrug the left shoulder. I'm going to curl like a cat tilt, and then I'm going to accelerate that left leg, right leg, lifting it off the floor. So we go left shrug shoulder, deep cat tilt, and then press through that right leg, lifting it about a foot off the floor. Keep going. You've got one more. Shrug, cat tilt, accelerate. It's like you're cleaning out, release. You're cleaning out the back of the scapula. Take a cleansing breath. Second side. So we flex the foot, reach across with the right hand to the outer left foot. Left hand can kickstand. Shrug right shoulder. Cat tilt. Accelerate. Keep going. Shrug. Cat. Push. Shrug. Cat. Push. Last one. You can do it. And release. Beautiful. You're going to come onto your knees. You're going to take a little pause here and do a little pranayama with a little mudra. So this mudra is called Ganesha mudra. So my right hand faces my heart. My left hand faces out, and I have my fingertips clasped. So they're grabbing each other. And as I inhale, I try to pull those arms apart, hands apart, and as I exhale, I release the effort. So keep going. With the inhale, we pull, big, deep breath in, feel the discomfort, and then exhale, release. Keep going. The Ganesha mudra, so hand mudras are really like they say in Vedic theory that we've got our health in our hands. Release. You just keep going as I speak. Pull with the inhale. And so the mudras really help the body find balance. And this one comes from Ganesha, the elephant god. Keep pulling and releasing. And we say he helps us to break through obstacles. He's a joyful, playful. Last one, pulling, pleasure-seeking God. And he helps us move through those obstacles of uncomfortability. Release your hands down, take a cleansing breath. We're going to repeat the second side. This time we do the opposite. So the left hand faces us, the right hand faces out. Interlace those fingers. Here we go. Inhale deeply. Pull. And exhale. Release. Keep going. Inhaling. Use this as your pranayama and a mudra. Inhaling, pulling. Recruit that breath. Exhale, releasing, getting strength in the upper body. Inhale. And exhale. We've got 2 more. Inhale. The exhale, you just let go. It's like, oh, the last one. Inhale, pulling. And exhale, releasing. Hands into the lap. Soften the back of the neck. Find the sweetness of your breath. I think that calls for a really good downward facing dog. So tuck your toes under, have your hands on the mat. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, push back, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And take a couple breaths here. Take some time just to really feel the earth underneath you. It's like the hands and the feet can just kind of suction cup, like you are a gecko lizard and you're just suction cupping to the earth, and then you could bring that strength in all the way up into the body. We've got about 5 more breaths here. Can you make your breaths long and steady? Can you make sure that you're not shoving into your armpits, but the biceps are wrapping under? All 4 corners of your hands and feet are on the earth, and the back of the neck maintains its softness. Can you feel as you soften the back of the neck how the core draws in a little more deeply? 2 more breaths. Can you suction cup just a little bit more? Last breath. Beautiful. Come to tippy toes. Exhale, bend your knees, squat dog, stick your booty behind you, and then walk yourself slowly to the front of the mat, Uttanasana. Standing forward fold. Again, there's that suction cupping of the feet that helps to bring in that action all the way up the legs. From here, we press down to come up to Ardha Uttanasana. We exhale to Utkatasana. Let's just focus on softening the back of the neck there, bringing the abs in a little bit more. And then inhaling, coming up to standing. Exhaling, releasing the hands. Inhaling, fly. Arms up overhead. Exhaling, diving down to Uttanasana. Take another breath here to suction cup those feet, to bring that energy of earth all the way up into the body, to melt the back of the neck and the upper scaps. Last breath. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Bend the knees, take the right leg back, bent knee lunge. And here it's going to be really handy. I'm actually going to switch around here. It's going to be really handy to have a block here. Or even 2. So if your hips are a little tighter, feel free to have a couple blocks here. You're going to bring your elbows down onto the blocks. Your back toes are tucked under, and your knee, your left knee is right over left ankle. You're going to suction cup that foot to the floor and bring the energy up into the left hip. You're going to imagine that the right foot is also suction cupping and bringing the energy up into the right hip. And then as you breathe, you're trying to breathe into the backs of the hips to make them inflate. And then you're softening the back of the neck. Couple more breaths here. Nice solid lunge. Make sure that the belly's not just hanging down, but it's lifting up away from the floor. And if nothing else, you just keep focusing on that back of the neck, especially if you're someone who has a lot of neck pain a lot of the time. It's going to be really important that for a while in your yoga practice, you're just going to pay attention to what you're doing, how you're shoving into your neck. Last breath. Beautiful. And then you can just gently move those blocks off to the side, unless you need them still, because we're going to move back and forward like we're doing runner's lunge, just to get a little movement in there. It's really nice after long holds. And you just breathe in and out. Beautiful. And then we're going to walk our blocks in our hands to the right. You're going to go ahead and step up into Prasarita Padottanasana and bow forward. So wide-legged stance, feet are parallel to each other. Just a little introduction to that pose, because we're not staying long. Here we go to the second side. So you're going to turn to the right and come into a lunge. You can use blocks here or the earth, depending on your own flexibility. But remember that before I said, if you go too far too fast, you'll guard. Your body will guard and you'll never get anywhere. So give yourself some good support here. And then look down at that front foot and make sure that the knee and the ankle are stacked. And that if you could suction cup that foot to the earth, you'd bring that energy up into that right hip. And then you do the same thing with the left. So you bring energy up that left leg until you feel that you're breathing into the expansion of the backs of the hips. Your belly isn't hanging out, but it's rooting down. It's rooting up, it's drawing up. And the back of your neck is softening. And so that you're encouraged to use your abdominals. You're gonna feel this stretch and you're just gonna breathe. When you feel the uncomfortability, bring more muscle action. Bring more awareness into the pose. Bring more softness into the pose. Last breath. Beautiful. You're going to rock out of that either with blocks or without blocks. And we move from runner's lunge to lunge, just back and forth. And just breathing, enjoying the breath. Okay, we're going to walk back to the middle, step up to Prasarita Padottanasana, bowing deeply through the legs. Forehead moves towards earth. If you need to walk your feet a little closer, you're going to make sure they're parallel to each other. The elbows can stay right underneath you, or you can reach your hands behind you on the floor. So they're reaching back behind you through your legs. And you imagine, in some ways, this is going to sound kind of weird, but what would it feel like if you birthed yourself? I've never had a baby. You might not know what that feels like. But if you have, imagine, or if you've got a good imagination, imagine you could birth yourself here. One more breath. Beautiful. Walk your hands up until they're right underneath your face. Take your right hand underneath your face and bring your left hand out to the side. And just take a moment here to notice your hips and to square them off. So as soon as I take my left hand out to the side, immediately I soften or I collapse a little bit in my right hip. So I'm going to pause here for a moment and feel those four corners expanding into their corner. Everybody to their corner. I'm going to soften the back of the neck and help my abdominals come in. And then I'm going to keep those four corners as I open my left arm to the sky. And you can stay looking down. Or if that's hard on your neck, melt the back of the neck and look towards the direction that you're opening. One more breath. Keep melting the back of the neck so the abdominals have to do their work. And release. Bow forward. Take a cleansing breath. Second side. Left hand is right underneath my face. Right hand extends out to the side. Right away, I notice that left hip likes to drop in, so I'm going to square off those four corners of my body. Each side of me is reaching towards its prospective side. And then I press down and open up, softening the back of the neck as I go. And that softening of the back of the neck transfers the effort into my abdominals. Otherwise, my neck wants to become like an abdominal. And no wonder our necks get tight, because they're taking on way too much effort. One more breath. And release that on down. And bring your knees to the floor and just take a moment to absorb that. Hands in your lap. Take a cleansing breath. And another big deep breath in. Full breath out. Good. We're going to come to hands and knees and to downward facing dog. So inhale, there's your cow tilt. Exhale, pressing back, downward facing dog. Bring your feet a little closer together. Try a little experiment, a little yoga experiment. Transfer your weight onto your left foot and just swing the right leg up into the sky. And see how that feels. Notice where your body is in space and what it feels like. And then go ahead and put that foot down. Take a cleansing breath. Walk your left foot a little more towards the center and lift your right foot off the floor just a little bit. Then soften your left knee and press that foot into earth. And just take a moment to square yourself in this pose, to feel everything working. Now begin to move that right leg up into the sky again and see if it feels a little more connected, a little better, a little stronger, a little more powerful. One more breath. Soften the back of the neck and release it on down. Go ahead and come onto your knees, toes tucked under, sit on back, cleansing breath. We'll try that second side again. If you need to, just squeeze and open your fingers just to give your wrists a little break. Please do. Okay, here we go. Tabletop to cow tilt. Exhale, downward facing dog. Walk your right foot a little more to the center and just mindlessly swing that left leg up in the sky. Just like you always do. Notice what's happening to your right hip. Notice where your weight is. Just see how that feels. And now go ahead and place it down. Take a cleansing breath. Okay, now transfer your weight to your right foot and just lift the left foot an inch or two off the floor. Soften the right knee and really feel the ground underneath you of that right leg. Keep that. And then start to grow the pose. Start to grow that left leg up into the sky. And just notice how different that feels, how you're getting a different stretch. Soften the back of the neck so the abdominals have to wake up. And see what happens. See the shifts. Good. And release that down. You're going to walk yourself forward to the front of the mat, Uttanasana. Take your time. Breathe deeply. Have blocks if you need them. If Uttanasana is a huge challenge for you, get the support that you need. Meanwhile, suction cup those feet like a gecko to the earth and bring that in as if you were having to hang upside down and you had to hold onto that floor with suction energy. One more breath here. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Utkatasana. Soften the back of the neck. Bring in those abdominals. Inhale, come to standing. Exhale, release. Inhale, fly. Exhale, dive. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend the knees. Take your left leg back to a lunge. And again, have blocks handy if you're a little more tight. This pose is a little more difficult, so you might want to look at me, and we'll do it a couple times. If you want to just take a little break from your mat and come close to the camera, I'm going to take my same arm as leg, I make a little C-clamp, and I'm going to grab the back of my calf. And from here, I'm going to suction cup both feet and lift my core as high as I can. I'm going to push that shin forward and see if I can get my shoulder back behind my knee. You'll notice my hips aren't hanging down. I'm suction cupping and pulling my abdominals up, and then I'm softening the back of the neck. And that's all. And then I reframe that foot and rock it forward and back. So we'll do second side, and then we'll come back to first side again so you get a chance to try it out and see how it feels on all sides. So inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend the knees, take the right leg back, have a block if you need to, if that makes it easier for you to be in this lunge position. The left hand comes behind the left shin, or the left calf. And then I suction cup my legs and I lift up, because the higher I can lift up those hips and the more I can round the spine, the more likely I'm going to be able to get that left shoulder underneath my left knee. But I'm going to soften the back of the neck so the abdominals have to work. One more breath. And release. We'll step it on back and just kneel it out. Take a cleansing breath. Move into tabletop and downward facing dog to repeat that pose. So inhale, cow. Exhale, dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And big deep breath, soften back of the neck, engage abdominals. Inhale to tippy toes, walk your way to the front of the mat. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend your knees, left leg goes back to a straight leg lunge, same thing. So you're gonna walk onto the inside again, blocks are handy. If that's hard for you, you might just stay here. It might be enough for you to suction cup and lift those hips as high as you can. Otherwise, take your right hand behind your right calf, push it forward as you lift as high as you can without losing that right knee over the right ankle. And you're gonna soften the back of the neck so that the abdominals have to work. One more breath. And release it on out. Beautiful. Frame the front foot with your hands. Rock it forward and back. Uttanasana. Press it up to Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend your knees. Take your right leg back. Straight leg lunge. Can you feel your abs yet? They should be feeling like fiery, like you're getting some good work in there. Have a block if you need to. C-clamp behind your calf. That pushes forward, but there's an isometric resistance. So the knee stays right over the ankle. And then as you press forward, use that suction energy to lift the hips as high as you can. The back of the neck softens, and so the abdominals can drop in. One more breath. Beautiful. Release that. Step back to plank pose. Something familiar. One more breath here. Drop your forearms to the floor. Forearm plank. Drop yourself out onto your outer right foot. Stack your left foot on top. Square your shoulders to the earth. Soften the back of the neck. One more breath. Second side. Come back to forearm plank. Turn out onto the outer left foot. Stack right foot on top. Square shoulders. Soften, melt the back of the heart, the back of the neck. One more breath. And release. Come all the way down onto your bellies. Drop your forehead onto your stacked hands and just rock left and right. Really rock it out. Get all that strong muscle action. Soften out. Okay, bring it to a rest. Just feel the movement still happening in the body, the reverb. Then you're going to draw your left thigh underneath you like you're trying to roll those thighs in. The heels will start to feel like they move out to the outside. Second side, you try to grab that thigh inwardly so the heels want to point outwardly. We're not going to let that happen. We're going to squeeze the big toes together until we feel the inner thighs waking up, and there's almost then the lift of the upper torso. So make the legs strong till you feel that little lift up there. A couple more breaths. See if you can sneak your hands out into a T. Keep squeezing those legs. Bringing that energy up from earth into the body. Beautiful. Bring your hands down by your chest. Inhale, cobra. And in your cobra, just go ahead and rock left and right. So you feel that stretch into the front of the belly. You can even look over your left shoulder, over your right shoulder. Come on back to your cobra. Hands pressed down, shoulders open up, back of the neck soften. Inhale to tabletop. Exhale, child's pose. Where can you release effort? Where do you feel uncomfortable? Just breathe into those areas. Notice how you can support it better, either with abdominals or the squaring of the body, the softening of the back of the neck, the accepting of the support underneath you. Last breath. Inhale to tabletop. We're going to work our way into pigeon, Ekapada Rajakapatasana. But we're going to do it the way we've been doing the last few times. So I'm going to turn so that my thigh is parallel to the short edge of the mat. And I look like, I'm sorry, is that right? Nope, I said that wrong. The knee is pointed towards the short edge of the mat. And now I bring that back thigh in so it looks more like swastikasana. And then I can take the shin and now I can square it to the front of the mat. So I'm just sitting on my right sits bone, on my almost even towards my right gluteal. I'm not trying to square my hips up to think about pigeon, but I'm going to walk my hands to frame my right foot, my right knee. And I'm going to flex both feet so that my feet are awake and drawing in and up. There's that suction cup energy. And then I just try to squeeze my inner thighs around my low spine and I extend. So I'm just working on it, just a nice little spinal twist and the first sense of hip opening. And then I'm going to soften the back of the neck. And I'm going to soften my elbows. And I'm still going to keep that same extension through the spine. One more breath. That might be enough for you. If you want a little more challenge, you see if you can migrate down to your forearms. but keep the inner thighs squeezing to each other to find that extension of spine. And see if you can melt the back of the neck. So the abdominals have to engage, and the neck isn't holding the tension of the pose. One more breath. Beautiful. Straighten the arms, rock the feet back together. We're just going to shift over to the other side. So we're coming onto our left hip. My knee is pointed straight forward. My left knee is pointed straight forward to the front of the mat. I'm going to take my right leg at a right angle. So now I've got this perfect right angle with my legs. And now I take my shin and square it off to the front of the mat. And that may be enough for you. In fact, maybe having a block under your left hand would feel really good for now. If that feels okay, you can just stay there. Think of that suction cup energy. The feet are flexed, and you're just bringing that up the central channel. And you're trying to melt the back of the heart, the back of the neck. Let that part be soft. Let the engagement happen way lower. If that feels good and you're just getting a nice twist, feel free to stay there. If you want a little more challenge, you walk down to forearms to frame that front knee, and then same thing. The legs go, whew, they bring that suction cup energy all the way up into the belly, inner thighs squeeze, and we melt the back of the heart. And when I say melting the back of the heart, it's probably higher than that. It's really upper scap and neck, lower cervical. See if you can just find that. One more breath. See if you can use the legs to extend the spine, to give it traction. And gently come on up. So your choices here are, because we're going to come to first side again, your choices are just to do that same series, and I'll talk you through it. I'll also give you the option to move into a more of a standard pigeon. So you'll just stop wherever it feels like you've had enough. Okay, so you rock out onto your right hip. My knee is pointed straight to the front of the mat. I take my left leg and I'm in a right angle now. And my feet are, kind of karate chopping. They're awake. And then I bring my shins square to the front of the mat. And I walk and frame that front knee with my stacked fingers, my tippy fingers. I squeeze the feet, legs, suction cup to the inner thighs. And if that feels good to me, I can stay there. That can be enough. If I'm ready for more uncomfortability, but I feel like I have the support for it, then I drop down onto forearms. And I can stay there for as long as I want, working to bring that leg action around the low spine and to soften the back of the neck. If I would like to try a little farther, I keep my right leg where it is and I turn my left leg under, more like a pigeon. My elbows can come, one elbow is touching the knee, the other is just inside the upper foot. Or I can even come up onto hands here, so I'm a little higher. Either way, I'm using that suction cup energy to come up all the way around the base of the spine. If I feel pinching here, then I've gone farther than my strength allows for. And then I go back to the prior pose, and I see how that works. If I'm still doing good, and I'm ready for a little bit more, I can walk my hands out long and breathe. I'm still using that suction cup energy, and I'm still trying to soften the back of the upper scapula, lower neck. One more breath wherever you are. And gently come out of it. You can rock over to the right, bring your knees together, And then you take that whole shape over to the left hip. Take your time, move gently. Bring left knee pointed straight, or this whole thigh parallel to the side of the mat. Right leg goes into like a right angle there. Left shin comes to the front of the mat, parallel there. And then I just gently twist, using that suction cup-like energy up the legs to the inner thighs. And that's just a good place to enjoy, softening the back of the neck, bringing in abdominals. If you're ready for more, you just bow forward to your forearms. But don't let yourself lose the action that brought you that far. If you start just going to the place where you can't support it anymore and it's just pure flexibility with no strength, or you get pinching or discomfort, then you're setting yourself up for injury and for patterning pain, which we don't really want to do. A couple more breaths there. If that feels good, be my guest. Stay, soften the back of the neck. If you want to go on, you walk to the right, you swing the right leg under to more traditional pigeon. I've got an elbow on my knee and an elbow inside the top of my foot. And I'm just breathing and trying to find that same strong midline hug. There's that suction of the legs that brings the energy up. And that suction of the legs, by the way, is super healthy for engaging inner energies, engaging things that will help even organs heal, because you're bringing in this strong energy to support the body, and the body likes that. You can come up here into onto your hands. Just notice that if you get any pinching, you've gone farther than your strength allows for, or your alignment. But if you want, you can try also stretching it out. Just make sure that suction cup energy brings the core into alignment and you melt the back of the neck. One more breath. Wherever you are. Then gently release. You'll rock out onto your outer right hip. Swing your legs around. Bring your knees up. You're going to cross your ankles, and you're just going to squeeze those shins in as tight as you can. I'm almost tippy toes on the floor here, and I'm going to use those legs to lengthen up my spine. It's looking like cow tilt, it's not looking like cow tilt, but that's my attempt, is to bring myself more into spinal extension. One more breath here. Beautiful. You're going to roll down onto your backs. Taking your time, drawing in your abdominals. You could even do a little left and right rock, but see if you can feel one at a time, each vertebra dropping on down to earth. Come on down. Stretch your arms just like we did at the beginning of class. Thumbs interlace. And just breathe that long body. You can take left side longer, right side longer, front side longer, back side longer, and then release into Shavasana. If you're cool, please place a blanket over you. Take a few big deep breaths and let yourself deeply rest. Where can you soften? How can you more readily accept the support of the earth underneath you? Let that be a good reflex action to accept support from wherever you can get it. Sometimes that means we have to share some things that we feel really vulnerable about. You find those safe spaces, those safe people, or pets. or self in meditation. I'll let it go. Let yourself get super relaxed on the floor. Let the back of the neck relax. Let the back of the hands relax. Shavasana is considered one of the most challenging poses in yoga because it's human nature that it's hard to let go. So welcome to the club and feel the support underneath you. Feel the breath just gently moving through the body. You're melting onto earth. It's like your body is spreading out in all directions until you get so thin that you can't tell the difference between you and earth. It's possible that even laying in Shavasana produces feelings of uncomfortability. See if you can stay with it. See if you can just let yourself relax and let go. If there's a place where you're noticing uncomfortable sensation, be it body, mind, or spirit, just send breath and acceptance into that place. Deepen your breath. Begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes, slowly and mindfully, so you don't just shock the body back into movement. And as you're ready, you start to move your arms and legs like a gentle stretch. If you need to do anything else, like a little twist or anything that feels like it would be helpful to you right now, you can do that. Otherwise, you'll stretch and roll to your right side. And we'll find our way gently and slowly, mindfully back to sitting in Sukhasana, hands in prayer. And when we get there, we just soften our eyes, find our seat, find the earth, the support underneath us. Find that melting place of the upper scap neck region. Find stillness and quiet. Let your mind drop into the space of the heart. You always can ask it for guidance. It's where you're in Buddhist thought, it's where your mind really lies. We take this last moment or moments in our practice to give thanks for our bodies and our ability to come to this practice. We're grateful for the space in our lives, the time. We're grateful for each other. It's so good to see you all. And we're grateful for our teachers and those who inspire and challenge us. And we take a moment to send blessings out into the world to where they're needed. Seems like they're very needed right now. Send prayers or blessings. Blanketing over this wounded planet. And we seal all that with a breath and an Om together. Inhaling. Namaste. Thank you for sharing your practices with me. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Namaste.